RuneScape is weird, but that is good. In a game with over 20 years of history, all jammed into one overcrowded map, there are a lot of things that just seem strange, out of place, or are just completely unknown to players these days. Like, do you know what a poison chalice is? Have you ever heard of an NPC named Movario? How about this trapdoor in Hemster? Where does it lead? Today, I'm gonna go over the answer to all of these and many other strange and forgotten things in the world of RuneScape. Let's start off with one of my favorites. Now, I love unique accounts. If you've ever seen my other videos, you'll know that I'm obsessed with digging around and finding all the weirdest trivia and fun facts that I can for my accounts. And let me just say, if you like my fun facts, you're gonna love this video. Anyway, one thing that I'll often be looking for is unusual ways to acquire obscure items or train skills in unorthodox ways. And time again, this has brought me back to one of the weirdest places in RuneScape, the dig site. Just look at this place. It's ugly brown, it's just a bunch of squares, and it has horrible pathing. Most players come here for the quest and never come back. And why would you? What even is there to do here? Well, actually kind of a lot. During the quest, you have to pan in the river to find an item, but did you know you can go back and pan after the quest? You can find uncut opals, jades, oysters, and gold nuggets, which you can turn in for gold ore. You also get teeny tiny bits of mining and fishing XP. It's probably one of the worst training options in the game, but it is a unique way to get opals and jades, which aren't very common. Did you know you can also train agility at the dig site? During the quest, you use these winches to explore caves under the area. And while the caves are cool, I mean, who doesn't want to mine some silver ore in this sick-looking Xeros area? But the point here is the winch. Using it gives, 2 agility XP. Man, I love this place. But that's not all. Surprisingly, you can actually dig at the dig site. With a trowel, specimen brush, and specimen jar, you can dig in the soil after the quest to find, well, lots of random crap. Copper ore, black med helm, jades and opals, and lots of broken stuff. Broken arrows, armor, staves, but did you know these things actually have a use? If you build a repair bench in your POH, you can fix all of these items. Broken arrows can become anything from bronze to mithril. Staves can become any of the basic elemental staves, and you could fix yourself up almost a full set of up to mithril armor. And fixing these items also gives small bits of the related XP. Smithing for armor, crafting for staves, and fletching for arrows. In fact, now that I think about it, given that there's some thievable NPCs here as well, you could train a ton of different skills at the dig site. Not sure why anyone would ever do this, but it's really cool to me that it's even an option. Let me tell you about some other items you might not know much about. Remember that poison chalice I mentioned at the beginning? I'm guessing that if you've heard of it, it's probably only because getting one was a league's task. You see, they come from this guy, who is literally named Stankers. Story has it that the Gower brothers, the creators of RuneScape, had a friend in real life named Stankers who made cocktails of his own creation, calling them poison chalices. I feel like any reasonable person would hesitate to drink something with poison in the name, but these things are actually weirdly useful. They can do a bunch of things, ranging from healing you or damaging you for up to 50% of your total hit points. But the coolest thing is that they're a free way to get a reliable boost in thieving and crafting. Drinking the chalice has a decent chance to give you +1 in those skills. Given that the Bandit's Brew, which also boosts thieving by 1, goes for over 1k a pop on the GE, you'd think that these poison chalices would be more commonly used by people to get that last level for a diary task or whatever. Same goes for crafting. The poison chalice is the only easy and reliable way for Ironmen to get a small crafting boost. And you can get an unlimited number of them for free from Stankers. Thanks, Stankers. One item that isn't weird at all is this amazing LED sign from today's video sponsor, Creator Crafted. I have this thing in my workspace and I love the way it looks. The colors are so bright and vibrant. I'm super excited to be partnering with Creator Crafted. These guys are making unique products specifically for the gaming community and the quality is incredible. These LED signs are the first officially Jagex licensed items of their kind, and there are so many cool designs to choose from. But you should get on it fast as these are only available for a limited time and more are being sold out every day. Whether you need a late Christmas gift for that Runescape friend, or you want to get yourself something to brighten up your space for the new year, you can save 20% using my link in the description. Definitely check them out, you won't regret it. Thanks again to Creator Crafted for the sponsor. Another weird item is the Hunter's Crossbow. It requires 50 range, it's only sold in Yanil, and only fires Kebbit bolts. It has some niche uses in PvP as it attacks faster than other crossbows for some reason, but being limited to only bolts made from the Hunter skill means its uses are pretty limited. Well, except it does have one other use, and you won't even find this info on the wiki. Kebbit bolts aren't the only thing that the Hunter's Crossbow can fire. It can also fire a Mithril Grapple. Why does this matter? Well, the Hunter's Crossbow is sold not even 10 steps away from a grapple agility shortcut that's required for the medium Arty Diary. So if you ever get there and realize you've forgotten your crossbow, just know you can pick up a handy Hunter's Crossbow and it'll get the job done. Speaking of the Mithril Grapple, have you ever used one to run the Dorgesh Khan agility course? I can hear half of you going, the what? Tucked away at the back of the Goblin City Dorgesh Khan, which, by the way, is literally one of my favorite places for weird content in the entire game, and I could talk about it forever, but I'm getting off topic. All the way at the back is the level 70 agility course, and can we just take a sec to appreciate how unique this place looks? Like the tower in the lava, the cables everywhere? Well, the way it looks isn't the only unique thing about it. It's actually doing a couple of unusual things. First of all, you can cross it with or without a grapple, rewarding agility and ranged XP. Second, it's above a bunch of Slayer monsters, thankfully none of which are aggressive unless you're super low combat. And last, it has its own little minigame built into it. This guy here, named Turgle, needs you to help fix their cool lava tower power plant thing, which apparently powers the entire city. You have to cross the agility course to the old power plant and grab a part to bring back to him. You can take the agility path or the grapple path, and depending on which one you take, he'll give you some bonus XP in either agility or range for bringing the part back. It's actually really cool and pretty well designed as a hybrid training method at higher levels. And the agility XP is apparently comparable to the Arty rooftop course, making it overall kinda underrated as a training option. But if you've ever been in this area, you may have noticed that there's one thing here that feels very out of place. This guy. Wait, what's another human doing down here? In all of Dorgesh Khan, which by the way is the entire length of Varrock and has 3 levels, you won't find a single human who isn't a player. But this random guy named Movario is just wandering around with his bodyguard in the cave south of the city. He's got some ominous dialogue about searching for something, and pickpocketing him gives you a pendant of Lucian, making a way of obtaining it after completing the Temple of Ikov quest. Oh, and doing so is an elite Lumbridge diary task, but how would people ever find this guy if it wasn't? I mean, this has to be one of the most out-of-place NPCs in the entire game. I love finding NPCs that just make you wonder what they're doing there. Another example of this is this man, just minding his own business. In the middle of the wilderness, he's just chilling at the Forgotten Cemetery, completely surrounded by undead creatures, but seemingly unbothered. He'll just talk to you like nothing is wrong, and he's one of the only NPCs in the wilderness that doesn't seem like it wants to kill you. How he got here is a mystery, but we can only wonder about his backstory. And that's just one of so many weird things you can find in the wilderness. But that might have to be its own whole video for another time. Though if you enjoy this type of odd and unusual trivia, you'll probably want to hit that sub button, as I include lots of this type of info in every video that I make. Okay, I actually do have one wilderness-related oddity for you, but it's not actually in the wilderness. You remember the Entrana dungeon that you have to go to for the Lost City quest? It's where the Draymond tree is. When you go down the ladder to get there, the monk tells you that there's no way back up and the only way out is through the wilderness, but I think everybody just holds spacebar through this dialogue. What he's actually talking about is this really unsettling magic door that's just weirdly built into a wall on the side of the cave. Going through it teleports you right here into level 32 wilderness. This makes me think of a few things. First of all, this area is multi-combat, meaning you could theoretically have someone in the wildy lure someone to this spot and then have an entire clan go through the portal to jump them, which would be really funny. The only problem being that you can't bring any weapons or armor onto Entrana, so I guess you're manually casting some spells on them? The other, perhaps more useful way to capitalize on this is the fact that this teleports you right next to the Boneyard. Many people start their accounts here, looting big bones and running them to the wilderness altar for some early prayer levels. Instead of running all the way up from Lumbridge to Varrock through the wilderness, you can instead run to Intrana and teleport through the door, minimizing the damage you take along the way, since the only monsters you need to get past are the greater demons, which can only max hit a 9. But I don't really know if that's a useful idea either, so let me know in the comments if anyone has ever used this door for anything I haven't thought of. I'm really curious. Speaking of unusual teleports, I've got another odd one that has literally never come up for me ever in game, and I didn't learn about it for years despite reading on the wiki constantly. You know the random event where you try to find Molly's evil twin? It gives you a few attempts to get the right NPC, but if you mess up enough times, Molly will teleport you to one of 34 possible locations all across Gielinor. A lot of these locations are extremely bizarre and out of the way, like the Sorcerer's Tower or the outpost north of Ardoin. So if you ever feel like you're in the mood to be teleported to a random location, just intentionally fail this random event and spin the wheel. You never know where you'll land. Another one of my favorite weird things are all the chests that nobody uses. Now, I don't want to spoil too much of my friend Telecon's Extreme Chest Lock series, so go check that out if you want more weird chests, but I do have a few really odd ones that I want to mention specifically. Because I've been playing a Yanil One Chunk Man for so long, I've looked into the area surrounding Yanil and found some bizarre stuff. The Ogre City, Gutanoth, is a hub for odd and antiquated content. Like these chests, which have this loot table, but also this spawn table? Opening this chest can actually cause a spider, rat, scorpion, or chaos dwarf to spawn. Why? What were they doing in that chest? Another weird thing is that if you already have an emerald, it won't let you get another one. Oh, and there's another chest over here that looks exactly the same, but only spawns a spider. But have you ever noticed this agility shortcut right by it? It only takes level 71 agility to save some time getting to this extremely relevant and high value content. There's another chest guarded by ogres that I have never heard anyone talk about ever before. It's at a location that most people probably don't even know exists. Have you ever visited the Chaos Druid Tower? You know, the one north of Ardoin that has like 4 Chaos Druids walking around? What's that? You've never noticed this tower that's been here for the entire history of OSRS? Yeah, me neither. And I know there's about to be that one guy in the comments who's like, I've done my Slayer tasks here since 2005. Okay, great. You're the only one who knows about it. Congratulations. I've also never known about the chests in the basement of the tower. Surrounded by aggressive ogres, these chests require 59 thieving to open and contain 2 blood runes and 500 coins. Honestly, not too bad. They work a lot like the other thieving chests with runes in them. You pick the lock, you get some runes. Oh, and you also get teleported out of the area. I guess that's a little different. Well, if you ever wondered what this little house in Ardoin was for, it's for this. So many questions, so few answers. All around, this is the type of content I love. Okay, one more chest. Have you ever been to Hemster? You probably have, but like, what even counts as Hemster? Look at this map. Where does the city start and end? Who lives here? I don't think the Ranging Guild really counts as part of the city, so from what I can tell, it's literally just these 3 empty houses. The fishing contest, which I guess nobody ever leaves, so maybe they live there? And Grandpa Jack. This guy will sell you a fishing rod if you don't have one, which I never knew, so that's kinda nice. He's also got a glass-blowing pipe in his house, which seems incredibly random to me, speaking of things that seem out of place. Anyway, of the limited things that are here, one of them is this chest. Chances are you've opened it as it is a requirement for the Ardoin achievement diary, but for most people, you probably opened it once, got the loot, and never came back. So what's in it? Well, 5 steel arrow tips and 20 coins, of course. Yeah, kinda bizarre loot, just like the last chest. Why arrow tips and not arrows? Why is it just sitting in this otherwise empty house? Well, I actually have a theory about what's up with this chest and kinda this area in general. You see, both of these chests were added in the very, very early days of the thieving skill. In fact, the Chaos Druid Tower was included in the update to RuneScape Classic that introduced thieving, with the Hemster chest coming only 2 months later. It seems like with the addition of thieving, Jagex was experimenting with alternative ways of getting expendable resources into the game, with runes and arrows, or I guess arrow tips, being some of the first items available for thieving. Runes were especially difficult to get back then, as there was no rune crafting and most of the rune dropping monsters we know today weren't in the game either. So these chests were probably the first shot at making thieving a useful skill outside of just pure GP. These updates at the time also added a ton of underground areas, like the Chaos Druid Tower, but there are so many around here that we just have to talk about them. So while I was looking around Hemster, I noticed this trapdoor. When you try to open it, it says, "Nothing interesting happens." Now, I don't know about you, but whenever there's a completely unexplained trapdoor in the middle of a grassy field, entirely lacking any context, that really gets my brain going. I had to discover what it connects to. My first instinct was that it was somehow related to the Temple of Ikov, which is right next to it, but that place has a lot of ladders. It wasn't until I asked Cook from the OSRS Wiki team to help that he pointed out this ladder way in the corner that I have never seen before in my life. Now the question is, how do you get to it? To get over here in the Temple of Ikov quest, you need to weigh less than 0 kilograms, so getting across requires the Boots of Lightness or Graceful. But once you get over here, there's no way to get to the ladder. That is, unless you actually do weigh more than 0 kilograms. At that point, you'll fall off the bridge and take 20 damage in the lava, yes, 20 damage every time, and then the ladder becomes your escape route. And where do you pop out? That trapdoor. So now you know where it takes you. God, I love learning all this weird, useless information. Okay, we're gonna come back to the underground areas around Ardoin in a sec, but there's another trapdoor I've always wondered about. Draenor Village has lots of trapdoors around the city, 2 of which connect to the Draenor sewers, pretty standard business. But what about this one? When you try to go down, it says that the pixies have moved on? What? What does that mean? Why can't you go down? It's always seemed really ominous to me with how unexplained it is. Well, if you haven't played RuneScape for at least the last 6 years, but more like the last 10 plus years, there's no chance you've ever been down here. That's because down this ladder is Diango's workshop. It's an area used for numerous holiday events, mostly the Christmas events starting all the way back in 2005. Most recently, it was used for the 2017 holiday event on Old School RuneScape, which is why I said 6 years. It's not nearly as creepy down here as I imagined. Well, except for when it was used for the 2013 Halloween event. There was this weird tree and this really unsettling area where you have to chop its dangling roots. Anyway, I figured I'd show this off as there's a good chance many of you have never seen this area, and it's possible you never will unless they decide to use it again later. Okay, back to what I was saying about Ardoin's Underground. Some dev in early 2002 must have realized that they could expand the map an unlimited amount using underground areas and just started going nuts, putting ladders and trapdoors freaking everywhere. If you look around south of the Ardy Zoo, there are, well, let's count. 1, with this cave used in the Hazil cult quest. 2, this ladder which leads around and brings you up out of. 3, this one-way trapdoor. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 ladders that are used in the Clock Tower quest. 1 more inside the Clock Tower itself makes 9, and this invisible one that appears when you walk up to it for the Monk's Friend quest is 10. And honestly, I don't even know if this is all of them. Actually, editor's note, I found another random trapdoor while shooting footage for this, so that's 11. There is so much going on under Ardy, it's actually ridiculous, especially since all of these are just way out in the open and you run by them hundreds of times after completing these easy early game quests. I feel like the devs thought they were being clever and conserving map space by putting all these ladders here, but they inadvertently created one of the most cluttered, confusing looking areas of the whole game. But honestly, I kinda love it. And that's just outside the city. You know Varrock sewers where we all trained when we were kids? I remember feeling so brave going down the manhole in Varrock. Well, did you know that Ardoin also has a sewer? How many times do you think you've run past this manhole without seeing it? This is really the icing on the cake of the Ardoin underground areas for me. It's like a really basic version of the Varrock sewers with some rats, some zombies, wait, are those swamp bubbles? Oh, yep, okay. Those are here too, I guess, if you're looking for some different scenery while you work on the chompy grind. There are also lots of iron and coal rocks. Theoretically, not that far from a furnace, so that's cool, I guess. I know there's a handful of one-chunk men who've had to do that grind. But there's also this door. What's behind it? You're only gonna find out if you do RuneScape's most challenging, most feared, most notorious quest, rat catchers. This area is mostly accessible from Jimmy Dazzler's house, where he has a ladder going down to the rat pits. Down here you'll find some of RuneScape's most vile monsters. Gamers. Which, for the record, I believe were formerly called gamblers, but, you know. Anyway, they'll explain to you how the rat pits work, and you can look at this really unsettling rat barn object. I feel like some of the other rat pits are a little more well known, like the Port Sarim one that you have to visit as part of the quest. Personally, I'd never been down here until poking around in the Ardoin sewers, which I had also never been in before. There is so much weird stuff sitting just out of sight in this game. I have a whole list of weird things, and especially weird places that I didn't get to today. Let me know in the comments if you'd want to see a video about some of the liminal spaces in RuneScape, because there are a lot of them. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something odd and unusual that you didn't know before. Maybe I even inspired you to go out and look around the world and just explore a little bit. Oh, and thanks again to Creator Crafted for sponsoring the video. Don't forget to use my link to get 20% off everything in their store. I really appreciate the fact that they're helping support creators. They're just really great people. If you enjoyed this video, you'll probably like my other videos where I incorporate lots of these types of fun facts into the progress series I make. Check one of them out now if you're interested.